and welcome back to the continuation of my alchemy series. In this video, we're going to go over the 7 alchemical processes described by Hermes Trismegistus. If you're interested in learning more about alchemy, be sure to check out my other videos from this series, which are linked below. The alchemical processes are spiritual processes that alchemists and other spiritual beings, such as twin flames, go through before reaching enlightenment. I mentioned these processes briefly in my Alchemy for Beginners videos, so if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out. I'll also be creating a video about my twin flame experience and how I navigated through the alchemical processes soon for you guys as well. So I'm going to be describing these 7 processes in spiritual or esoteric terms, but just note that they also have exoteric or scientific associations as well. The first alchemical process is calcination and is connected to the base chakra. It's represented by the symbol of Saturn and lead and is symbolized by the color black. Since calcination is the first alchemical process, it's characterized as being the beginning of the work of the alchemist's spiritual transformation. Calcination breaks down parts of ourselves that are in the way of our happiness, which includes our egos, self-doubt, stubbornness, self-sabotage, pride, and arrogance by working to reveal what's underneath, and it destroys our ego and attachments to material objects. It works with the element of fire to burn away these bad qualities in ourselves and reveals our hidden essences. The word calcination comes from the Latin word calx, which means limestone or bone, and to calcine something is to burn it until it becomes chalky white and reduces to ashes. Fire is thought of as being an element that creates transformation, and calcination ultimately helps us reevaluate ourselves in order to move forward for the rest of the alchemical processes. This process starts when you realize that you need a change in your life in some way. The second alchemical process is dissolution and is connected to the sacral chakra. It's marked by the symbol for Jupiter and tin and is symbolized by the colors white and light blue. Dissolution is a continuation of the process of breaking down parts of ourselves that no longer serve us. This is the point where we begin to let go of control and allow our chakras, which are the energy centers in our bodies, to cleanse our minds. It works to dissolve irrational thoughts and often works by connecting us to our subconscious through our dreams and even our visions. This is when we become spiritually mature. The third alchemical process is separation, which is connected to the solar plexus chakra. It's marked by the symbol for Mars and iron and a smaller symbol for sulfur, and is symbolized by the colors red and orange. This is the process where things start to get interesting. A part of you from the calcination process splits from the part of dissolution. Because of this, these two opposing forces are often displayed as being at war with each other, and this separation ultimately helps the soul to review and decide what to get rid of in our lives. This is what I feel the separation process of twin flame connections describes. The male and female aspects of the twin flame connection are separated from each other so that each assesses their own lives apart from one another, but it's such an intense push and pull energy that it can feel like torture. With this process, you have to be really determined to get through it. This is also where we rediscover the creative parts of ourselves, which are controlled by a feminine energy that was previously rejected by the rational male part of our minds. This is like when the right side of our brain, which expresses our creativity, takes over the left side of the brain, which controls the way we take on the world logistically. This is described in common twin flame connections, where the divine feminine is more in tune with themselves and the connection, and the divine masculine is generally too in their heads to accept the connection. Things that we're ashamed of in the past come to light. We rediscover the essence of ourselves by accepting them. We let go of beliefs, assumptions, and prejudices that hold us back from being the best version of ourselves, and we use that pent-up energy that we have to guide our spiritual transformation. The fourth alchemical process is conjunction, which is connected to the heart chakra, and it's the middle point of the alchemical processes. It's marked by the symbol for both copper and Venus. As a middle process, conjunction is thought of as being a sacred process referred to as the marriage of the sun and the moon. This marriage symbolizes the two opposing forces of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and combining their individual life experiences to form one. So the purpose of conjunction is to combine and balance out the purest spiritual essences that we've retrieved from the separation of the sun and the moon to create a whole new state of being. The intuitive thought processes of the moon are combined with the rational thought processes of the sun. The ancient Egyptian term for the marriage of the sun and the moon was the intelligence of the heart, which is what the alchemist feels during this time, which is when they encounter a new sense of oneness. This process can also be symbolized by a cross or a plus sign, signifying the above, which is the active and masculine, with the below, with the passive feminine. Conjunction also helps to balance out the first 3 processes below it and the 3 processes above it. This is where we begin to be more comfortable with our truest selves as we begin to combine both of our masculine and feminine thought processes. This is also where we start to see synchronicities in our twin flame experiences, which show that we're following the right path through our spiritual transformations. The 5th alchemical process is fermentation, which is connected to the throat chakra, and it's marked by the symbols for both the metal and the planet Mercury, which is also called quicksilver. This is where the balanced thought processes from conjunction begin to create a completely new state of being. This process is said to create the ambrosia of the gods, which solidifies the immortality of the soul and the spirit. Fermentation generally comes with 2 parts, putrefaction and separation, and 2 others are often added, which are citronitas and rubedo. Putrefaction, which is also called the head of the raven, is where matter decomposes and rots and ferments to spiritually resurface. Think of the fermentation processes of wine. The grapes decompose in order to become something else entirely, which can be consumed and enjoyed once they finally get through this intense process. This is the process where we begin to let go of our past selves and our impure thought processes, which decompose and begin to die within ourselves. This is one of the most difficult and painful processes because it causes us to fight ourselves, especially when we try to hold in the past and everything that holds us back from being our true selves. It's also called the negredo, or the blackness, which is also called the darkness of the soul, where we're faced with the darkest parts of ourselves. It's ruled by the planet Saturn, which most often teaches us the harsh lessons that we have to overcome. It's where you give the attention to the problem at hand and reduce it until you find the seat of the problem. Once you've figured out what's needed in order to release and heal from that problem through whatever emotional needs are necessary, you finally are able to move on. The Emerald Tablet describes this process as our black earth is our fertile earth, which expresses the transformation of death into new life. Though this stage is painful, it's necessary to create a new beginning. It's like those moments when we feel completely torn down and we don't think we can get up, but through our pain we find a way to rise up in ways that we never thought we could. Once we've finally gotten through the painful process of putrefaction, we can move on to spiritization, which is also called the albedo. This is Latin for whiteness. This is where we start to see the world in a new light. Though the wine isn't fully pure because it still has to go through the distillation process to actually be a purified version of itself, we rise up out of the darkness of putrefaction into a higher consciousness, one that allows us to appreciate even more of what we have and what we've accomplished. Though the process of conjunction was there to balance out our thought processes, it was still unstable and we needed to go through the destruction of those impurities in order to become a new version of itself. Through this process, we begin to see what's called the cauda pavonis, or the peacock's tail, which is the oily substance that's often seen in the fermentation process that comes from the yellow phase or the golden pill, which is also called the citronitas, which means yellowness. The citronitas is sometimes thought of as being a golden stage of enlightenment that encourages the spiritization process. Rubedo, or redness, which is also called the diamond body in Chinese alchemy, is said to be a continuation of spiritization in order to make the spirit stronger. This is where we volatilize the fixed, or make the spirit stronger through matter by protecting our spirit with our body. When we become conscious of the protection of our spirit, a light within ourselves begins to appear and we accept our newfound knowledge of our ability to do and create things that we never thought were possible. This is where we begin to see our divine nature. The 6th alchemical process is distillation, which is connected to the 3rd eye chakra and is marked by the symbol for silver in the moon. This is the process where your spirit goes back and forth through trials and tests in order to become fully purified. As with any distillation process, this creates a concentrated version of the soul, which alchemists called the mother of the stone. Through a process of distillation called sublimation, any vapors in the solution condense and become a solid powder on the top of the apparatus and stay there. This is known as the white stage of alchemy and is described in the Emerald Tablet as it rises from the earth to the heaven and descends again to the earth, thereby combining within itself the powers of the above and the below. This stage is important because it ensures that no impurities from our personalities flow into the last process. These would be any impurities that are caused by our ego or an id, and it allows us to move on with our lives free of emotions, sentimentality, and our personal identity. When we feel sentimental about things, it means that we're stuck in the past, and when we react to things with our emotions, we tend to overreact and things get out of hand. When you find yourself no longer reacting to the things that happen to you with your emotions, then you'll know that you've experienced the distillation process. The seventh and final alchemical process is coagulation, which is connected to the crown chakra and is symbols for gold and the sun. This process is the complete transformation and resurrection of the soul, which has been solidified in the body with its purest essences. Coagulation produces the ultima materia, which is the last matter and is referred to as the Philosopher's Stone or the Greater Stone. This is of course the stone from Harry Potter that's thought to create great power and immortality. It's said that it releases a brain ambrosia from both the phallic-shaped pineal gland and the vulva-shaped pituitary gland. These are another representation of the combination of masculine and feminine energies, or sacred parts of our bodies that produce spiritual clarity and help us connect to the knowledge of the above. This brain ambrosia also helps to energize the body and creates a second body, which is a body of solid light that energizes through the crown chakra. Once you've finally gotten through this process, you've become a fully enlightened being. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this helped you guys understand more about these intense processes. I know there are more symbols associated with them, but I feel like I can make another video for you guys explaining that in more detail. So definitely stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys next time.